Hey guys, it's John Sherman here. We're in Houston, Texas at the wonderful one-to-one training center, one of the best training centers in all of Texas. Okay guys, today we're gonna go through a leg workout, just basic stuff. We're gonna work on technique, form, not so much how much you lift, it's how you lift. And that's a mistake that I see a ton of people making across the country. They're so worried about how you lift, but then their legs are toothpicks. So I'm going to show you today, or give you a brief overview of what I did when I was competing against some of the best guys in the sport. So the one thing I've always done, and the one thing I always make my clients do, is warm up before you get into the meat of your workout. Reason being is because we like to prevent injuries. We want to warm up those ligaments and tendons, get you loose. That's the mistake I see a lot of people make, is they walk in the door and they jump right into jumping into the heavyweight, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life, but it happens more times than not. And so out of the 37 years that I've been competing and working out, I've never had an injury. The injuries that I have incurred came outside of the gym. Bowling, doing housework, that type of stuff. And I'm not talking about cleaning. I didn't hurt myself cleaning. I'm talking about actually doing manual labor around the house. But I was very fortunate to have great people teach me the right things from the jump. Had a guy named Rick Wilkins, who was Mr. Texas at the time, and his mom was my mom's hairdresser. And the first time I saw him, I was like, man, I was like maybe 9, 10 years old. And the first time I saw this guy, I was like, that's what I want to do. So I told him, and he told me when I turned 18, to find him. Lo and behold, I found him, and he took me under his wing and taught me a whole lot from the jump. So during my teenage career, I started at 17. That's when I found him. And man, I won the Teenage Texas, I won the Collegiate Nationals, I won the Middleweight Texas, all under this guy's tutelage. And then I ended up going pro, and I met Lee Haney. I was fortunate enough to train with Lee Haney for a whole summer while he was, a little bit longer than the summer, while he was here training in Vander Holyfield. So I got the opportunity to learn years and years and years worth of training tips through that summer with Lee. And he emphasized posing, he emphasized technique, he emphasized form. He never cared about how much you lifted. It was how you lifted. And that's the most important thing. Like I said earlier, you can have guys lifting tons and tons of weight, but they're more worried about ego and impressing whoever's in the gym. I can give a damn less who's here. I'm all about feeling the muscles that I'm supposed to work. That's it. That's what this game is all about. That's bodybuilding. It's about building a pretty physique, not building a Frankenstein monster that you just threw body parts together because you didn't know any better, or because you had people hyping you up to lift this crazy amount of weight and screaming and throwing shit around the gym. That's not necessary. I mean, you can do it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying if you're doing all that yelling and screaming and throwing shit, you're not focused on what you're supposed to be doing. And you're gonna build a Frankenstein monster physique, I promise you. So let's get this warm up in. and then we'll get into it. So I always start my workouts with hip abduction machine. I want to warm those areas up real good. And also I do a little stretching in between. Nothing too major, but just to make sure that everything's loose, because we don't want to have injuries. On every rep, I exhale going out. On every rep, I try to squeeze and hold. I'm not gripping the handles too hard. The weight's not ridiculously heavy, but I'm feeling this. And I try to do it about three sets, 15 to 20 reps per set. Again, I'm not trying to use a monstrous amount of weight, just a weight that I can control and I can feel every rep. I also try to take my upper back off that pad. It helps me really focus on those glutes. So it may not look like it, but a lot is going on right now. For me, because I'm a shorty, I put my feet on the top rung. It just feels better for me. I'm also contracting my abs at the same time, so that's why I'm blowing out. So what I like to do is I like to keep my reps high. That's what I did during the whole course of my time competing, is I kept my reps high, but I still went pretty heavy. And I worked on form. So it wasn't a matter of just pushing the weight up and dropping it. I was feeling every rep. So it was the tempo was controlled. It was not, like I said earlier, I don't care how much I lift, I focus on how I'm lifting it. So on this set, we're gonna work on the outer sweep. So you keep your feet narrow and you don't have to go down as far. You go where your quads hit your stomach or your chest, that's far enough. But you don't want your hips to come off the pad. And I see that a lot. I see the guys going down too far. So we want to just keep everything real tight. Keep the knees in as they go up. Don't let them flare out. Because we're just trying to focus on the outer sweep. So we want to try to come down about 90 degrees and back up. Not locking out at the top either. If you do that exercise correctly, you'll feel that in your glutes as well. So again, form, technique, not so much how much you lift, it's how you lift. Also pushing from my heels. I'm not letting my heels come up, but when I push up, I'm driving through my heels. So my toes should be able to come off. I should be able to lift my toes off the equipment the whole time I'm doing this exercise. And notice that I'm not bouncing it off the bottom. time when I would do 13, 14 plates on each side during my competition days. But since those are behind me, it's pointless to do that much weight. But even when I was doing that much weight, my form was still strict and tight. So I never sacrificed form, and you shouldn't either. If you're bouncing on this exercise, if you can't control the weight, you're going too heavy, and you're not going to see the results that you want. So back the weight off a little bit, control your tempo, control your reps. You'll start to instantly see results. Within a month or so, you'll see what I'm talking about. When I was competing, I would do drop sets, supersets. Not just when it came to contest prep time, but I would do it in the off season too, to mix it up, stimulate growth, and to keep from the workouts being boring and stagnant. So I always challenged myself each time I came to the gym. Of course, there were days when you just didn't have it, but you get up, you get dressed, you show up, you do what you can. And by maybe 15 minutes into that workout, you were good to go. So again, like I said, get up, show up, get it done. That's what I'm about, not excuses. No excuses, guys. So this is gonna be my last set. Hopefully my best set. First 15 to 20 years of doing the sport, I used to squat a lot. I never incurred any injuries, but I always felt like pain in my back, like joint pain. But that didn't happen from anything I did in the gym. As a teenager, I worked at UPS and I was unloading those trucks, and I incurred a back injury in my L5 and my S1. And so I kind of been having that nagging pain for a while. But that young lion in me still felt like I needed to do squats. And then I saw Dorian Yates, and he didn't do squats. He did hack squats. And nobody can complain or criticize his leg development. It was great. So I started doing that, and I didn't lose any size, actually gained size, and it helped with that injury in my back. So that's why I was able to have such a long career in this sport. It's all about training smart as well as hard. If you're not training smart, you're not gonna last in this sport. And you see a lot of guys show up and then they just kind of fizzle off and disappear. And that's unfortunate, because if they had to just check the ego, stop reading the magazine so much about themselves, or stop letting people hype them up in the gym, they would still be around today doing a lot of damage. So we're gonna show you my way of doing this, and hopefully it works for you too. Since I did on leg press, I kept my feet narrow. On here, I'm gonna space my feet shoulder width apart, my toes slightly turned out. So now we're working on whole leg, especially the vastus medialis. That's the inner part. We want to get down to probably just a little bit below parallel. You don't have to bounce it up, you want to control it up. what that does is give that muscle more room to grow. So if your fascia is tight and it's holding your muscle in, you got to stretch that fascia out so that muscle can develop. A lot of guys don't do that, but some save it for the end of the workouts, if they do it at all. But I can tell you, the top guys, that's what they do. They stretch a lot, they get their rest, and make sure they eat all their meals, and they don't miss a training session unless it's an emergency. Sometimes even, back when Arnold was competing, he missed, I think maybe it was his dad's funeral or somebody's funeral, because he had to train for a show. I'm not saying taking it that extreme, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Again, I don't lift as heavy as I used to because there's no point in it for me at this stage in my life. I do a lot of functional training now because, believe it or not, I play golf, and I need to be more flexible in order to play the way I want to play. So again, what I would encourage people to do, even I wish I had taken this another hobby up when I was competing, just to keep everything in perspective. There's so much more to life that we kind of limit ourselves, we put ourselves in a kind of a pigeonhole when we do the competition thing. But when you look back, you go, man, damn, I could have done this, I could have done this, I could have done this. Not saying it's a waste, because it wasn't. I have no regrets regarding my career. But there's so many other things to do in life, and I encourage everybody to try to find other things that you enjoy, whether it's bowling, archery, bird watching, all. I don't give a damn what it is. Just be a well-rounded person, as well as a great bodybuilder. That's what life's all about, being well-rounded. There's so much to do and see that you don't want to just lock yourself into one thing. And also, I got this from the guy who helped me with my nutrition. His name is Keith Klein. He's retired recently, but he's an awesome person, just an awesome individual, an awesome nutritionist. He recently said something that really hit the nail on the head when it comes to us competing. When we get in shape and we get in great shape, we hold that standard. So when you're not competing, you think you may be fat, but you're not, because the rest of the world looks at you and thinks, man, he's in good shape. So psychologically, getting in super great shape kind of messes with us a little bit. So don't let it. Of course, you want to stay healthy, you want to stay happy, you don't want to get fat when your shows or your competitions are over or you're not competing anymore. But keep it in perspective that when you are at that 3% body fat, you're damn near death. And that's really not a healthy way to live. Of course, we think we can walk around looking like that on a day-to-day basis, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That's not possible. So stop beating yourself up about it. Live your life, take care of yourself, stay in good shape. You don't have to always stay in great shape, but stay in good shape and enjoy life. That's what it's all about, y'all. So also move my feet up just a little bit. Take that pressure off your knees. But you want to go at least 90 degrees. At least get parallel. If you can get under parallel, that's great, but just don't bounce off the bottom. Exhale, blow out on the way down. Exhale on the way down. Inhale on the way up. When I do leg curls, I do them two different ways. Of course, the first way, I put my feet apart. When I do it this way, yeah, it hits the inside, it hits the whole leg, but I feel it where it emphasizes more of that outer hamstring. The next time I come back, I'll put my feet together and it kind of hits that peak a little bit better. So, I mean, all this could be in my head, but after 37 years of doing it, I don't think so. Also try to make sure that my stomach stays down on the pad, and I keep my hips down also. I try not to let my hips come up as I'm curling. I'm thinking, as I'm doing the exercise, I'm thinking bicep curl. I'm thinking emphasize on the meat of the belly of the muscle and the peak of the muscle. So when I get to the top, I actually squeeze a little bit, and I just don't drop it down. I let it down controlled. Squeeze it up controlled, let it down controlled. Just like I'm doing biceps. And again, you don't need a crazy ass amount of weight to get the point across. Also, if I want to get a little bit stricter, I put my hands here as I'm curling the weight up. That way, I'm not using my arms on the handles underneath. It's forcing me to stay down, and I'm just using those hamstrings to pull that weight up. So if you do it this way, you might have to lighten the load a little bit, but again, who cares as long as you're getting the results you want. I may not compete, but I love the sport. I mean, I use that term sport loosely. It's an art. Really, it's an art form. I just love seeing how you can sculpt your body, seeing the beauty of it. It's just something I've always had love for. And so even though I don't compete anymore, I stay in the sport by judging. I stay in the sport by training, and I don't necessarily train a lot of competitors. I like to train everybody. As long as they have a desire to look good and feel better, I'm your man. Because you show up and you're willing to give me 100%, I'll give you 200%. Keep my hips down, squeezing those biceps. Don't get me wrong, it's okay to cheat a little bit at the end, but make sure that 80 to 90% of your set is tight, form is good. I believe in overload principles and all that, but there's a time and a place for everything. So the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do some stiff leg deadlifts. So notice when I did that exercise, when I came back up to the top, I didn't throw my hips forward. See a lot of people doing that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I don't do it because I'm trying to emphasize my hamstrings. But I will say, in my experience, when you do that, you're putting a lot of pressure on your L5 and your S1. Over time, that's gonna add up So I encourage my clients just to come up straight. If you want to squeeze your glutes, that's okay. Just don't do that extra pushing where your shoulders go back and your hips go forward. Just come to the top, squeeze your glutes, keep your body perfectly straight and in line. You'll last a lot longer that way. So a lot of you might be saying, well, damn, he ain't lifting that heavy. Well, again, like I said earlier, at this stage of the game for me, what's the point? I'm not trying to get any bigger. I want to keep the muscle that I have right now. And what I want to do is stimulate, as Lee Haney says. Stimulate, not annihilate. So I'm using weight that I can control, that I'm just feeling the muscle that I'm focusing on work, and not all the other surrounding muscles. But at the same time, I am going up in weight. Directly under me, but right in front of me, and I focus my eyes on that. At the same time, I'm pushing my glutes back as far as they can, but as I start, I arch my back, get my butt up, and just let the weight fall down naturally right in front of my legs. Keeping the weight close to my legs. Pushing my butt back, focusing on the spot, maybe 2 feet in front of me. Keeping my neck and head in a neutral position. That's a wrap. I must say, that was a good one. Okay, guys, so thanks for taking the time out of your day to watch this. In the future, if there's something that you want to see that we didn't cover during this exercise or this workout, please, in the comments, let us know. Whether it's no questions or dumb question, please just reach out to us. Also, I want to let you guys know, don't forget about the NPC Muscle Beach Classic. It's going to be held in Galveston, Texas, October 20th this year. NPCMuscleBeachClassic.com for information. If you're interested in online training, go to JohnTheTankSherman.com. Or if you want one-on-one training, same place. Contact me, JohnTheTankSherman.com. And again, thanks for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. More content will be being put up soon. Thanks again.